loves to learn about people and new cultures. She's an explorer. She's curious. On a recent trip to Europe, she talks about an experience that helps her realize how difficult it is to cope with other cultures, what cultural shock is, and how she may have taken her American life for granted. Please welcome our vlogger and next storyteller, Jassi Kaur.
Selfie.
It was a typical Saturday morning. My dad was knocking on the door. It was 9 a.m. He wanted me to translate a letter he received in the mail recently. I was trying to stay quiet so he would think I was in deep enough sleep where he wouldn't wake me up. However, the knock just got harder. After a while, I asked him if he could go and ask one of my other siblings to translate the letter. As I heard his footsteps walking away, I slowly snuck out of my room, got a cup of coffee, came upstairs, and packed the last few things that I needed. Because it wasn't just a typical Saturday. It was the day I was gonna travel to Europe with my best friend, Paris. Yes, I went to Paris with my friend, Paris. As I was leaving, I gave my family a hug and got on the bus to JFK. Although I thought this would be amazing, going there alone, at first I felt a little bit of separation anxiety. Nobody in my family was with me. As I got to JFK, I saw Paris's flight land from Seattle. We looked at each other and screamed in excitement because I knew we were both equally as excited for this adventure. As we walked into the airplane, the whole 8-hour flight, we just talked about how excited we were for this, how long we've been planning this. Right when we land at CDG Airport in France, we heard the pilot tell us that our baggage would arrive at Carousel 6. Once we got to Carousel 6, I was lucky enough that my baggage was one of the first ones that came. Paris was not so lucky. Her luggage never came. They were never able to they were never able to transfer her baggage from her connecting flight. So we go to the baggage help desk and let them know what's going on. They understood us really well, however, we didn't understand anything he was saying. He wanted an address for where we were staying, and while I was looking at my email, I could not even figure out which one was the address because it was so different from the way we format our addresses here. After a 30-minute conversation explaining to him where we were staying, we finally got that figured out. The next challenge was to find a place to buy plane tickets. It was a very long, train tickets. It was a very long line, and when we finally got to the desk, the lady told us they only accepted euros. I looked at this lady straight in the face, and I wanted to say, "Are you kidding me? You're working in an airport, you guys only accept euros?" But that was the arrogant American in me. So I just kind of looked and smiled. Then we went to the currency exchange, handed them our money, and just trusted that they were giving us the right amount of money back. Finally, we got our train tickets, hopped on the train, and got to the stop where we were staying, our hotel was. I look at my Google Maps and I told her, "Oh, it's only 700 feet, let's walk." Yeah, it was 700 meters. So as we started walking and realized that it was taking longer for the number of meters to go down, we realized it was meters and not feet. So then we figured we should definitely get some food. As we walked into the sandwich shop, trying to explain to this man that I was lactose intolerant and that Paris couldn't eat gluten, either this man didn't care or he didn't understand us, because he looked at us and said, "Ham, chicken." So we just told him we wanted chicken sandwiches. So then we started walking and finally got to our hotel. Clearly we hadn't planned as well as we thought we did for this trip. I started picking up a few phrases in France that day. The next day, we wanted to go to the Eiffel Tower. We hopped right back on the train, or subway, train. We hopped right back on the train and started heading towards the Eiffel Tower. We missed our stop because we were very deep in conversation. Next thing you know, we looked outside the window and it looked nothing like how you see Paris in the pictures. There were small houses, a lot of trash, so we figured we were definitely not heading towards the Eiffel Tower anymore. We got off at the stop and tried to ask other people for directions, but nobody spoke English. We looked at the map, which was all in French, and we couldn't understand how to get back to the city. We started just hopping on random trains and figure if it was, eventually we would see the Eiffel Tower. We didn't. After finally meeting one person who spoke a little bit of English, we were able to get back to the city. At this point, it was evening and we were exhausted. So we spent the first day in Paris just getting lost. And we went right to our hotel and went to sleep. This happened to us quite a few times. We were only there for 2 days in Paris. So we head to the airport and we're waiting for our flight to Italy. Again, we're very deep in conversation. I guess we just have very deep conversations because we almost missed our flight to Italy. The guy had called our name twice in the intercom, however, we didn't hear him. Normally when you hear somebody say your name, it catches your attention right away, except for if they're saying it with a very thick French accent. It doesn't even sound like your name. When we realized there was nobody around us, we realized everybody had boarded the plane and it was just us. We ran to the gate and entered our plane and laughed about that experience, even though I was thinking about, oh my God, what if I would have been left there and the plane left? So we arrived in Italy and we had some similar experiences. And same thing in Barcelona. On our flight back, Paris and I were debriefing about our trip, and she asked me, so out of the 5 cities and the 3 countries we went to, where would you live? I looked her dead in the face and said, are you serious? I would never live here. Not because these weren't beautiful countries, because I was so frustrated with telling people, with trying to communicate with people, and they weren't understanding me. I was tired of talking with my hands. I was tired with people not understanding that I don't eat dairy, and them just giving me whatever they wanted. I was tired of not understanding what the euro was worth. And honestly, I was just ready to go home, where people would understand me. And then after that, Paris took a nap, and I started looking out the window, and I thought back to the first day. I thought back to the day I was leaving for Europe. I thought about my dad asking me to translate that letter, and how ungrateful I was not doing it for him. I forget that they came to this country and spoke a whole different language, used a whole different kind of currency, and they came to the country and they made it with themselves. They made it. Sorry. I forgot how much I love my parents and how patient they are. You always hear that your parents make so many sacrifices for you, but you never really realize the sacrifices they make. I took this trip because I wanted to disconnect with my family and just learn more about myself. This trip made me realize how connected I am to my family. This trip made me more connected to my family. Thank you.
So here you go. Bari kinle bhaijan ke call diye. You know who he is, right? Huge round of applause for Kamrul Khan Lincoln. And then the next is Tawfiq Mateen. Call him if you need mortgage from the Commonwealth Mortgage. Then we have Dr. Faisal Islam. A huge round of applause for this mentor who's helped us. And then thank you so much for sponsoring this event and being with us tonight. And then our technical sponsors, of course, KPAG, for making all this lights, sounding, and everything sounding like a dream come true. And thank you so much.